Commander Zethkar stared at the glowing screen in front of him. His long blue fingers moved across the control panel as he checked the readings again. Something was wrong. Very wrong. The space station called Nexus Prime floated quietly in the dark void at the edge of the galaxy. It was a peaceful place where aliens from 12 different worlds worked together. They watched the stars and looked for new life in the universe. For over 3,000 years, the Galactic Council had kept peace among all the species they knew. Zethkar belonged to a race called the Altarians. His people had tall, thin bodies and skin that looked like the ocean on a sunny day. They were smart and careful. They loved to study and learn new things. Like all the other races in the Council, they had stopped fighting wars long ago that the strange signal on his screen pulsed with a red light. It came from a part of space that no one had ever explored before. The energy pattern was unlike anything in their huge computer files. It looked rough and dangerous, like something built by people who did not care about making things pretty. "Computer, run analysis on the unknown signal," Zethkar said in his calm voice. The machine's voice answered him. "Signal shows primitive fusion technology mixed with advanced quantum signatures. Origin point, spiral arm 774. No match found in Council databases." Zethkar's large eyes widened. In all his years of watching space, he had never seen anything like this. The signal was moving fast toward their area of the galaxy. Whatever it was, it would reach Council space in less than 2 days. He pressed a button on his desk. "Council Leader Vorthan, please come to the monitoring station. We have something you need to see." While he waited, Zethkar thought about what this could mean. The Council had found many new species over the years. All of them had been peaceful people who wanted to trade and learn. They built beautiful ships for exploring and studying the stars. Their weapons were old things kept in museums, reminders of dark times when their ancestors fought each other. The door to his room opened with a soft sound. Council Leader Vorthan walked in. He was a Xanthari with gray skin and 4 arms. His people were known for being wise and fair. He had led the Council for 50 years. "What have you found, my friend?" Vorthan asked as he looked at the screen. "An unknown signal approaching from the outer rim," Zethkar replied. "The energy patterns are very strange. Look at this data." Vorthan studied the numbers and graphs on the screen. His face showed worry. "This technology, it looks like it was made for fighting. But that cannot be right. No one builds war machines anymore." "That is what troubles me," Zethkar said. "The signal is strong and getting stronger. Whatever is making it must be very large." Far away in a different part of space, Captain Jake Miller stood on the bridge of his ship. The U's Defiance was a monster of metal and weapons. It was over 2 miles long and carried enough firepower to destroy a moon. Every surface was covered with armor. Gun turrets stuck out from its sides like the spines of a deadly animal. Miller was a big man with short gray hair and scars on his face from old battles. He had fought in the Mars colonial wars, where humans killed each other over water and land. On the Red Planet, his eyes were hard and always watching for danger. In his world, being soft meant being dead. "Captain, we're getting strange readings from long-range sensors," said Lieutenant Amy Foster. She was young but smart, with brown hair tied back in a military style. Her job was to handle all communications for the ship. "What kind of readings?" Miller asked as he walked over to her station. "Unknown energy signatures, sir. They don't match anything in our files. The computer thinks they might be alien ships." Miller felt his heart beat faster. Humans had been looking for alien life for hundreds of years. They had found empty planets and dead civilizations, but never living aliens. If these readings were real, everything would change. "How far away?" he asked. "About 30 hours at maximum." Speed, sir. Miller turned to face his crew. A bridge was full of men and women in dark blue uniforms. They all carried weapons and wore armor under their clothes. Every human ship was ready for war, because that was all humanity had ever known. Commander Stone, prepare the ship for possible combat, Miller ordered. I want all weapons ready and shields at full power. Rick Stone was Miller's second in command. He was a thin man with quick eyes, who could think fast in a fight. Yes, sir. Should I launch the fighter squadrons? Not yet, but have them ready to go in 5 minutes if I give the word. The crew moved quickly to get ready. On human ships, everyone knew their job when trouble came. They had practiced fighting so many times that they could do it without thinking. Dr. Lisa Chun looked up from her science station. She was different from the others. Where they saw possible enemies, she saw the chance to learn something amazing. Captain, if these really are aliens, shouldn't we try to talk to them first? Miller looked at her with tired eyes. Doctor, in my experience, strangers in space usually want to kill you or take what you have. We'll try talking, but we'll be ready to fight. The Defiance changed course and headed toward the unknown signals. Its nuclear engines pushed the great ship through space at incredible speed. Inside, 800 human warriors prepared for whatever they might find. Back on Nexus Prime, more council ships were arriving to investigate the strange readings. They came in beautiful colors, silver, gold, and bright blue. Their hulls were smooth and artistic. These ships were made for exploring and learning, not for war. Captain Veltar commanded one of these ships. He was excited about the possibility of meeting a new species. His people, the Xanthari, believed that every new friend made the galaxy a better place. Prepare a cultural greeting package, he told his crew. If we are about to meet new people, we want to show them the best of what the Council offers. His ship, the Harmony of Worlds, moved slowly toward the area where the signals were strongest. It carried scientists, artists, and teachers. These people had spent their lives trying to understand the universe and make it more beautiful. Neither side knew what was about to happen. The peaceful council ships moved toward what they thought would be a wonderful meeting with new friends. The human warship raced toward what its crew expected to be a dangerous battle. In a few hours, two completely different ways of thinking about life would crash into each other. The galaxy would never be the same again. The used Defiance dropped out of hyperspace like a metal monster emerging from a nightmare. Space around the ship twisted and bent as the huge vessel appeared near a small planet covered in ice and rock. The ship's dark hull blocked out the light. From nearby stars. Captain Jake Miller stood on his bridge and watched the main screen. His trained eyes quickly took in everything he could see. There, floating near the planet, was something that made his blood run cold. An alien ship. Red alert, Miller said in a calm voice. Sirens began to wail throughout the Defiance. Red lights flashed on every deck as 800 human warriors prepared for battle. The alien ship was unlike anything Miller had ever seen. It was smooth and beautiful, painted in colors that seemed to glow with their own light. Where the Defiance looked like a weapon built to kill, this ship looked like a work of art made to inspire wonder. Captain, I'm detecting one alien vessel, reported Commander Rick Stone from his tactical station. It's much smaller than us, but I'm reading some kind of energy shields around it. Weapons? Miller asked. Stone checked his instruments again. I don't see any obvious weapon systems, sir. But that doesn't mean they're not there. On the alien ship called Harmony of Worlds, Captain Veltar was having a very different reaction to first contact. His forearms moved excitedly as he stared at the massive human vessel that had just appeared. By the ancient stars, he whispered. Look at the size of that ship. They must be a very advanced people to build something so large. Dr. Lisa Chun, the ship's xenobiologist, was running every scan she could think of. Captain Veltar, that vessel is definitely artificial. I'm reading over 800 life forms aboard. They're carbon-based, just like most council species. Wonderful, Veltar said with joy. A new species to welcome into our galactic family. Open communication channels immediately. The young Zenthari at the communication station worked quickly. Channel open, Captain. Broadcasting on all standard frequencies. Veltar took a deep breath and spoke the words that every council captain had practiced since childhood. Greetings, unknown travelers. We are representatives of the Galactic Council, and we welcome you with open hearts and minds. We come in peace and friendship, seeking to share knowledge and culture with all thinking beings in the galaxy. On the Defiance, Lieutenant Amy Foster heard the alien message coming through her equipment. Her eyes went wide as the translation computer worked to make sense of the strange language. Captain, incoming transmission from the alien vessel, she reported. The computer is working on translation. Got it, sir. Miller listened to the translated message with growing suspicion. In his experience, anyone who talked about peace and friendship was usually getting ready to stab you in the back. Standard response, Lieutenant, Miller ordered. Unknown vessel, you have entered space claimed by the United Earth Colonial Defense Force. Identify yourself, state your intentions, and provide information about your military capabilities. Foster sent the message and waited. The response that came back made her shake her head in confusion. Sir, they're sending us cultural information, art, music, pictures of their worlds. And they keep saying they want to be friends. Miller's face grew hard. It's a trick. No one broadcasts their weaknesses to strangers unless they're trying to fool you. Lieutenant Foster, send them our standard military identification. Tell them we're armed and ready to defend ourselves. On the Harmony of Worlds, the crew was becoming very confused and worried. The human response made no sense to them. Captain, said the communications officer, they're asking about our military capabilities. They keep talking about defense and weapons. I don't understand. Dr. Chun looked at her instruments with growing alarm. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy buildups throughout their ship. Those aren't science instruments. Those are weapons. Hundreds of them. Veltar felt a chill run through his body. No one had talked about weapons in council space for over 1,000 years. There must be some mistake. Perhaps their translators are not working correctly. Send them more cultural information. Show them we are peaceful. The Harmony of Worlds began broadcasting beautiful holographic displays into space. Images of council worlds appeared, cities full of art and gardens, beings of different species working together, children playing in parks under alien suns. On the Defiance, the crew watched these displays with suspicion and confusion. What are they trying to tell us? Asked Commander Stone. Are these their cities? Their military bases? It's intelligence gathering, Miller decided. They're showing us their infrastructure to see how we react. Very clever. Foster, transmit our standard warning. Tell them to power down their scanning equipment, or we'll consider it a hostile act. But, sir, Foster said carefully, I don't think they're scanning us for military purposes. These look like scientific sensors. Miller gave her a sharp look. Lieutenant, any sensor powerful enough to analyze our ship is powerful enough to target. Our weapons. Send the warning. Back on the council ship, panic was starting to spread. The humans had just accused them of hostile scanning and threatened to attack if they didn't stop their routine scientific instruments. This is impossible, Dr. Chun said, her voice shaking. They think our research equipment is some kind of weapon system. How can any species be so focused on war? Captain Veltar tried to stay calm, but he was beginning to understand that they were dealing with something completely outside council experience. Send them a message. Tell them we have no weapons and mean no harm. Ask them to please explain what we have done wrong." When this message reached the Defiance, the human crew reacted with disbelief and anger. "They claim they have no weapons," Foster reported. "And they're asking what they did wrong. No weapons?" Stone laughed bitterly. "Captain, that ship has enough power to level a city. If they're not using it for weapons, what are they using it for?" Miller thought about this for a moment. In human space, all power was used for war, industry, or survival. The idea that someone would build a powerful ship just to explore and learn seemed impossible. "It's obviously a lie," he concluded. "No one builds a ship that big without weapons. They're trying to make us lower our guard. Launch a squadron of fighters. Let them know we're serious." 12 human fighters launched from the Defiance's hangar bays. They were small, fast ships covered in weapons and armor. They spread out around the alien vessel like hunting wolves, surrounding their prey. On the Harmony of Worlds, alarms began to sound for the first time in the ship's peaceful history. "Captain!" shouted the sensor operator. 12 small craft have launched from the large ship. They're surrounding us. I'm reading weapons on all of them." Dr. Chun was now truly frightened. "These humans, they think like warriors. Everything they do is about fighting and defense. How is this possible?" Veltar realized they were facing something that the Council had never encountered, a species that had never learned to live in peace. "Send an emergency signal to Council Command. Tell them we need help understanding these these warriors." The message went out across Council space at the speed of light. Within hours, every peaceful species in the galaxy would know that somewhere, in the darkness, there was a race of beings who still lived by the ancient laws of war. Captain Miller watched his fighters take position around the alien ship. To him, this was normal military procedure. Show your strength, maintain control, be ready for anything. "Sir," Foster said quietly, "what if they really are peaceful? What if we're scaring them?" Miller looked at her with the tired eyes of a man who had seen too much fighting. "Lieutenant, in my 30 years of service, I've learned one thing. There's no such thing as a peaceful species. There are only species that haven't shown their weapons yet." The two ships faced each other in the darkness of space. Between them lay a gap wider than the distance between stars, the gap between two completely different ways of thinking about life, death, and what it meant to meet a stranger in the vast loneliness of the universe. Neither side understood what was happening. The Council ship waited in fear, hoping that these warrior humans could somehow be reasoned with. The human warship waited in readiness, expecting the aliens to reveal their true hostile intentions at any moment. First contact had begun, and already it was going terribly wrong. Fleet Admiral Korthvin received the emergency message while he was in his private garden on the Council flagship. He was a member of the Jorvani race, with skin like polished stone and eyes that glowed with a soft inner light. For 60 years, he had kept peace in the galaxy through patience and wisdom. The message from Captain Veltar made him drop the flower he had been studying. Warriors, a species that still fought wars. It seemed impossible, but the sensor data was clear. "Assemble the fleet," he ordered his staff. 12 ships. We're going to make contact with these humans. Within 6 hours, the most beautiful fleet in the galaxy was moving toward the edge of Council space. Each ship was a masterpiece of art and science. The Council builders had spent centuries making vessels that inspired wonder and peace in everyone who saw them. Admiral Korthvin's flagship, the voice of harmony, led the way. Its hull was made of crystal that caught starlight and turned it into rainbow patterns. Behind it came 11 other ships, each representing a different member species of the Council. On the UEC Defiance, Captain Miller was growing more suspicious by the hour. His long-range sensors had detected the incoming Council fleet, and what he saw made his military mind race with possibilities. 12 ships approaching, reported Commander Stone. They're moving in perfect formation. This isn't exploration. Group Captain, this is a battle fleet. Miller studied the tactical display. The alien ships were beautiful, but their size and power readings worried him. How long until they arrive? 4 hours, sir. Signal Earth Command. Tell them we've made contact with a potentially hostile alien alliance. Request immediate backup. Lieutenant Foster looked up from her station. Sir, the original alien ship is transmitting again. They say the incoming ships are coming to help with peaceful communication. Miller laughed without humor. 12 warships to help with communication? They think we're stupid. Lieutenant, start preparing our cultural database. For transmission. Sir? Foster looked confused. If they want to play games with cultural exchange, we'll show them what human culture really looks like. When the Council fleet arrived, Admiral Korthvan was shocked by what he saw. The human ship was a dark metal monster covered in weapon systems. It looked like something from the ancient wars that his people tried to forget. By the eternal stars, he whispered, it's a warship. A real warship. His science officer, Dr. Yathara, was scanning the human vessel with growing alarm. Admiral, I'm reading enough firepower on that ship to destroy our entire fleet. Maybe. Our entire home world. That cannot be correct, Korthvan said. No one builds ships like that anymore. Sir, I'm also detecting massive industrial facilities throughout their ship. Weapon factories, armor forges, combat training centers. This isn't just a warship, it's a floating military base. Korthvan realized they were dealing with something beyond their understanding. These humans had turned their entire civilization into a war machine. He opened communication channels to the human ship. Greetings, humans. I am Fleet Admiral Korthvan of the Galactic Council. We come seeking peaceful understanding between our peoples. Captain Miller heard the translation and smiled grimly. Peaceful understanding. Right. Commander Stone, are our weapons ready? All systems armed and ready, sir. Good. Foster, transmit. Our cultural package. Let's show these aliens what they're dealing with. What happened next would be talked about in council space for thousands of years. The Defiance began broadcasting human cultural information. But where the council had sent art and music, the humans sent something very different. They sent their history. The council fleet watched in growing horror as holographic displays showed human civilization. Wars that lasted for centuries. Cities destroyed by nuclear fire. Soldiers fighting in conditions that would kill most council. Species. Children learning to use weapons before they could properly walk. This is their culture? Dr. Yathara asked in a shaking voice. Nothing but war and death? The humans showed battles in space around other planets. They showed huge factories that did nothing but make weapons. They showed military academies where young humans learned dozens of ways to kill their enemies. Admiral. Korthvan watched his peaceful species' worst nightmares come true. How many wars have they fought? Dr. Yathara checked the data streaming from the human ship. According to this, they've been fighting continuously for their entire recorded history. Over 3,000 separate wars in the last 1,000 years alone. But the worst was yet to come. Captain Miller decided it was time to show these aliens that humans were not to be taken lightly. Commander Stone, I want a demonstration of our capabilities. Find me some asteroids. Stone's tactical sensors quickly located a cluster of space rocks about 1 million miles away. The largest one was roughly the size of a small city. Asteroids located, sir. Shall I target the largest one? Target all of them, Miller ordered. I want these aliens to understand exactly what they're dealing with. The Defiance's main guns began to move. Particle beam cannons that could punch. through a mountain swiveled toward the distant asteroids. Nuclear torpedo tubes loaded their deadly cargo. Energy weapons that humans had built specifically for destroying enemy ships charged up to full power. The Council fleet watched in fascination as the human ship prepared to do something. Admiral Korthvin thought they might be planning to mine the asteroids or study them with some kind of advanced science equipment. Fire, Miller said calmly. What happened next changed everything. Beams of pure energy lanced out from the Defiance and struck the first asteroid. The rock, which had been floating in space for millions of years, simply ceased to exist. It didn't break apart or explode. It was completely vaporized in less than 2 seconds. The second asteroid died the same way, then the third. Nuclear torpedoes reached the fourth asteroid and turned it into a small sun that burned bright for several minutes before fading away. In 30 seconds. The humans had destroyed space rocks that weighed millions of tons each. The Council fleet sat in stunned silence. "Admiral," Dr. Ythara whispered, "they just demonstrated enough firepower to destroy our homeworlds. All of them, as easily as swatting insects." Admiral Korthvin felt something his people had not experienced in over 1,000 years. Pure terror. These humans could end Council civilization with a few button presses. Captain Miller was pleased with the demonstration. To him, it was just a routine show of force, the kind of thing human military commanders did all the time to establish respect. "There," he said to his crew, "now they know we're serious. Foster, transmit to the alien fleet. Tell them we're willing to discuss terms for peaceful coexistence." When this message reached the Council fleet, Admiral Korthvin almost laughed at the insanity of it all. The humans had just threatened to destroy entire worlds, and now they wanted to discuss terms for peace. "What kind of terms do you think they want?" asked Dr. Ythara. Korthvin thought about everything they had learned about human culture. A species that had never known peace, a species that built weapons instead of art, a species that prepared for war the way Council species prepared for festivals. "I think," he said slowly, "they want us to surrender." The word surrender had not been spoken in Council space for so long that most species had forgotten what it meant. But now, faced with the overwhelming power of human military technology, they were being forced to remember concepts their ancestors had abandoned long ago. Captain Miller waited for the alien response. In his mind, he had been perfectly reasonable. He had shown his strength, demonstrated his capabilities, and offered to negotiate. This was standard military diplomacy. He had no idea that he had just introduced the concept of threatened annihilation to a galaxy that had forgotten such things were possible. The Council fleet maintained its distance from the human warship. 12 beautiful vessels full of artists, scientists, and philosophers stared at a single human ship that could destroy them all. Without effort. First contact was becoming a lesson in fear that the galaxy would never forget. Admiral Korth then realized that everything was about to change. The age of peace was ending, not because the Council wanted war, but because they had met a species that knew nothing else. "Send a message to all Council worlds," he ordered. "Tell them we have encountered something new, something dangerous, something that will force us to remember who we used to be long ago, before we learned to live without fear." The message went out at light speed, carrying news that would shake every peaceful world in the galaxy. Somewhere in the darkness, there were beings who had never stopped being warriors, and now those warriors knew where to find them. The news spread across the galaxy like a wave of fear. On 12 different worlds, billions of peaceful beings heard the same terrifying message. Warriors had been found in the darkness between the stars, on the crystal cities of Altair Prime. Blue-skinned scientists stopped their research to stare at the reports coming from the edge of space. The humans had destroyed asteroids the size of cities in seconds. Their single ship carried more weapons than entire council fleets. The flower gardens of Xanthari fell silent as the gentle four-armed gardeners tried to understand what they were hearing. A species that had never known peace. A people who built their children's toys to look like weapons. It seemed like something from an ancient nightmare got in the underwater cities of Aquatica. The fish-like hydrali swam in worried circles. Their philosophers had taught for centuries that all intelligent life naturally evolved toward peace. The humans proved this wrong in the most frightening way possible. Captain Sue Davis received the emergency signal while her stealth ship, the Phantom, was exploring an asteroid field 3 light years from the contact zone. She was Earth intelligence, part of a secret organization that gathered information for the human military. Captain, her communications officer called out, "Priority 1 message from Earth Command. The Defiance has made contact with aliens." Davis felt her heart skip a beat. After centuries of searching, humans had finally found other intelligent life. Set course for Captain Miller's position, maximum stealth. I want to see these aliens before they see us. The Phantom was built for spying and hiding. Its black hull absorbed light and sensor beams. It could slip through enemy space without being detected. Within hours, it was watching the standoff between the human warship and the Council fleet. Davis studied the alien ships through her instruments. They were beautiful, artistic, and completely defenseless. "My God," she whispered. "They really are peaceful." Her science officer, Dr. Ben Wright, was analyzing the alien technology. "Captain, these ships are amazing. Their power systems are more advanced than anything we have. But I can't find any weapons." "None at all?" "Nothing, ma'am. These ships are built for exploration, research, and art. There are actual art galleries on some of these vessels." Davis realized what this meant. Humanity had stumbled onto a galaxy full of advanced civilizations that had no way to defend themselves. It was like a wolf pack finding a village full of sheep. She opened a secure channel to Earth. "Command, this is Davis. The alien situation is more complex than we thought. We need to talk." While the Phantom watched from the shadows, the Council fleet was trying to understand what they were dealing with. Admiral Korthvin had called together the greatest minds from all 12 species to analyze the human cultural data. Dr. Yithara led the meeting in the Voice of Harmony's largest conference room. Representatives from every council race sat around a table that had been carved from a single piece of crystal. "I have studied their transmissions for 48 hours, she reported. "The picture that emerges is beyond our worst fears. These humans have weaponized their entire civilization." She activated a holographic display showing human society. Every human learns combat from childhood. Their entertainment focuses on conflict and war. Their greatest heroes are military leaders. Their most advanced technology is designed for killing. A Xanthari philosopher raised one of his 4 hands. "But surely they must have artists, scientists, people who love beauty and knowledge?" "They do," Dr. Yithara replied. "But even their scientists work mainly on better weapons. Their artists create propaganda for war. Their children play games about conquest and battle." The room fell silent as the council representatives tried to imagine such an existence. "How is this possible?" asked an Altarian historian. "How can any species survive being constantly at war with itself?" "That's the terrifying part," Dr. Yithara said. "The wars made them stronger. Every conflict taught them new ways to fight. Every defeat made them build better weapons. They didn't evolve past warfare. They evolved because of warfare." On the Defiance, Captain Miller was having his own problems. Earth Command had responded to his reports with orders that made him uncomfortable. "They want us to do what?" he asked Lieutenant Foster. Foster read the message again. Sir, Earth Command is sending a full battle fleet. Admiral Kate Murphy is bringing 12 ships, including the Indomitable. They want us to secure the area and assess alien technological capabilities. Miller understood military language well enough to know what secure the area really meant. Earth was preparing to take control of this part of space by force. Sir, Foster said quietly, do you think that's the right approach? These aliens seem genuinely peaceful. Miller looked at her with tired eyes. Lieutenant, I've been a soldier for 30 years. I've learned that peace only lasts as long as someone is strong enough to enforce it. If we don't take control of this situation, someone else will. But Foster wasn't satisfied with that answer. She had been studying the alien transmissions in her spare time. The more she learned about Council civilization, the more amazed she became. Captain, these people have had peace for over 3,000 years. They've eliminated poverty, disease, even natural disasters on their worlds. They've turned their entire galaxy into a paradise. And now they're about to learn why that was a mistake, Miller replied. Paradise only exists when no one wants to take it away from you. Dr. Lisa Chun had been monitoring Council communications from her science station. What she heard made her increasingly worried. Captain, she reported, the aliens are broadcasting emergency messages to their entire civilization. They're warning everyone about us. What kind of warnings? They're calling us a warrior species and advising all their worlds to prepare for the possibility of invasion. Miller laughed grimly. Smart aliens. They understand the situation better than I thought. But Chun wasn't finished. Sir, I'm also detecting massive changes in their society. Worlds that haven't had armies in 1,000 years are suddenly trying to remember how to build weapons. It's like watching an entire galaxy wake up from a peaceful dream into a nightmare. The transformation happening across Council space was indeed like waking from a dream. On world after world, beings who had spent their lives creating art and beauty were suddenly trying to remember the ancient sciences of war. The Giovanni opened their historical archives and found dusty records of weapons their ancestors had built. The Altarians began converting their research stations into military outposts. The Zenthari sadly put away their gardening tools and picked up the weapons their people had sealed away centuries ago. It was too little, too late. Even their oldest weapons were toys compared to human military technology. The Council races had spent so many generations focused on peace that they had forgotten how to fight. Admiral Corthvin watched this tragic transformation from his flagship. His beautiful galaxy was changing into something dark and fearful because of humanity's arrival. Admiral, Dr. Yithara reported, I'm receiving word from the outer colonies. Some of our people are abandoning their homes and fleeing deeper into Council space. They believe the humans will invade at any moment. Will they? Corthvin asked. Dr. Yithara had studied human history carefully. In their past, every time humans encountered a weaker group, they conquered it. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but always completely. I see no reason why they would treat us differently. The Admiral stared out at the stars that had once seemed so peaceful and welcoming. Now they looked cold and full of hidden dangers. Captain Davis, still watching from her hidden position, saw the fear spreading through the Council fleet. She realized that humanity was about to face a choice that would define their place in the galaxy forever. They could be conquerors, taking control of worlds that couldn't defend themselves. They could be the monster that destroyed the greatest peaceful civilization in galactic history. Or they could be something else. Something better. But first, they would have to prove that they were more than just warriors. They would have to show that humans could choose peace even when war would be easier. The problem was that Admiral Murphy's battle fleet was already on its way, and Kate Murphy had never chosen peace when victory was possible. In 12 hours. The most powerful human war fleet ever assembled would arrive in Council space. What happened next would determine whether First Contact became the beginning of a golden age or the end of galactic peace forever. The countdown to humanity's choice had begun. 6 months after the Krillian Empire's collapse, the galaxy looked like a completely different place. Admiral Clark Davis stood on the bridge of the Earth Navy cruiser Vigilant, looking out at what used to be the Empire's most heavily defended sector. Now it was peaceful space, patrolled by a single human ship. Clark had been expecting a difficult assignment when Earth Command sent him to maintain order in the former Krillian territories. Instead, he found that most problems solved themselves as soon as word got out that humans were watching. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Monica White from the communications station, "we're getting another request for mediation. The Zelani and Borthik governments are having a trade dispute." Clark nodded. "Standard procedure, Lieutenant. Offer to send a mediator if both sides agree to binding arbitration." What he did not mention was that both sides would almost certainly agree. Nobody wanted to be the species that refused human assistance and then had their conflict escalate. The mere possibility that Earth might send real military forces was enough to make most disputes seem very solvable. Monica had been promoted to lieutenant colonel 2 months ago, when Earth established the first Terran peacekeeping station in former Krillian space. Her job was to coordinate humanitarian assistance and conflict resolution across 17 star systems. She had a staff of 500 people and a budget that seemed huge until you realized she was maintaining order across territories that used to require millions of Imperial troops. "Colonel," came a voice from the holographic projector, "this is Dr. Sarah Kim on Refuge Station. We've got another batch of former Krillian client species requesting protection status." Monica smiled. This was becoming a regular occurrence. Species that had been forced into the Empire were now lining up to join the new human-led peacekeeping system. Not because they had to, but because it was obviously the safest option available. "How many this time, Doctor?" 12 species representing about 40 star systems. They're offering to contribute resources to the peacekeeping efforts in exchange for security guarantees. It was a good deal for everyone involved. The former client species got protection from pirates and warlords. Humanity got local knowledge and logistical support. And the galaxy stayed peaceful because nobody wanted to test human military capabilities. Back on Earth, President Alex Turner was preparing for the most important speech of his career. The world had changed dramatically since the Krillian incident, and humanity was still figuring out how to handle their new role in galactic affairs. "Mr. President," said his chief of staff, "the Joint Chiefs are ready for your final briefing." Alex nodded and walked into the secure conference room where Earth's military leadership was waiting. General Patricia Hayes, Admiral Robert Chun, and the other service chiefs looked as bewildered as everyone else by the rapid changes. "Gentlemen, ladies," Alex began, "I want to review our current situation before I address the planet tonight." Admiral Chun activated the holographic display, showing current human deployments.